Hello, music fans. I'm here to talk about my favorite black metal albums. I'm doing a top 13, and black metal is weird for me. I don't like a lot of it. Um, I don't like the kind of raw lo fi sound too much. Something about it is grating. So, like the kind of first wave and second wave of black metal bands. I don't listen to a lot of those bands. I can't really get into them too much. I try from time to time, but some of the more modern ones have better production value and kind of got more influence from progressive metal and more cinematic influences or atmospheric things. And I started to appreciate that. So this is my favorite black metal albums from somebody who doesn't really get into black metal, and this is from more of a perspective of a Prog fan. Although I tried not to pick progressive black metal albums, which would be the obvious choice. So you're not going to see anything from Isan or Enslaved on here because those are kind of the obvious um, best black metal albums for a Prog fan. So I'm going to try to pick ones that aren't super progressive, but that I still think Prog fans would like. And these are all from 1995 or later because the earlier stuff uh, just hasn't resonated with me yet. I don't know as much about it. So this is after 1995. Limit 2 albums per band on here. Now, what is black metal? It's an extreme subgenre of heavy metal. You'll hear fast tempos, shrieking vocal styles as compared to the death metal, which is more like the low guttural. You got the high for black metal. I can't really do the screams, but I could try. And then you have heavily distorted guitars, often played with tremolo picking. Sometimes the raw lo-fi recording and production, unconventional song structures, an emphasis on atmosphere. You'll see artists wearing things like corpse paint. They paint their bodies white and they adopt pseudonyms. So it's a lot of freaky people, if you ask me. I kind of like my mathcore video that I just made. It's another kind of freaky, abrasive genre that is not meant to sound pleasant. It's supposed to be make you uncomfortable. But this one is kind of a different vibe than mathcore, but similar in that way. Now let's jump right in with my number 13, which is from this year, and it's a band called Harakiri for the Sky, and they're from Austria, and their album is called Mayor, and it's from this year. And this is cool. It's got some like post metal vibes to it. It's black metal, but it's something that I could kind of get into. It's kind of hypnotizing. Wikipedia says they also have some post-hardcore influence, and I like that genre as well. So this worked for me. When I listened to it, I liked it. I wanted to listen to it again. Unlike with a lot of black metal, where when I hear it, I'm like, oh God, turn that racket off. This one actually worked for me. And my number 12 is from the band Beelzebubs. And it's their album from 2019, Pantheon of the Nightside Gods. And this is kind of melodic, like the riffs almost sound like melodeath or symphonic metal. But there's definitely the tremolo picking and stuff, maybe some death metal influence here. They're from Finland, and they're like a cartoon band. I think it started with like a comic or something, and then they all kind of have it's like a fictional cartoon band. They all have weird names. I don't really know the backstory, but I listened to the music and it was actually pretty awesome. So yeah, I like that one. And on to my number 11. Here's actually a kind of classic second wave of Norwegian black metal band, and it's Emperor. I mentioned Isan earlier as an obvious choice for me. I like Isan, and he's the front man, the vocalist and lead guitarist of Emperor. That was his first project. That it was more on the black metal side, and then his solo stuff is more on the progressive metal side, but still has his black metal vocals and some black metal vibes to it. And Emperor, you can kind of hear a little bit of prog coming out in them. That's why they're one of the kind of original Norwegian black metal bands that I like the most. And did I even mention the name of the album here? It is 9 Equilibrium, like the Roman numeral 9 IX, and this is from 1999. And yeah, there's some cool symphonic elements to this, synthesizers, which kind of makes it stand out from the rest of that raw, early lo-fi production Norwegian black metal stuff. This is a little bit better production, more interesting composition, and kind of technical playing and symphonic and kind of classical influences in here. On to my number 10, and it's by a Canadian band called Woods of Ypres from 2004. It's their album called Pursuit of the Sun and Allure of the Earth. And this is also kind of melodic black metal, kind of not really like anything else that I mentioned before on this list, because it's also got like doom vibes to it and some folkiness to it. Yeah, it kind of feels catchier than everything else on this list so far. The previous stuff was more of an assault and kind of this brutal atmosphere. This one is actually kind of catchy and folky black metal and doomy. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And on to my number 9 is Emperor again. I'm limiting myself to 2 albums per band here, so you'll see a lot of bands appear twice on this list. Pretty much every band appears twice on here except Harakiri for the Sky and Beelzebubs, which just appear once, but every other band on here appears twice. So that's a bit of no, there's one other band that appears once that I haven't mentioned yet, but most other bands on here have 2 albums on here. So Emperor's second album on my list, which is Prometheus, the Discipline of Fire and Demise from 2001. And this is their 4th album. And yeah, they started dabbling in the prog a bit more. Ihsahn is just a legend here, so I can't not like this album. And my number 8 is another one from Woods of Ypres, Canadian band, a similar style to the other one by them that I mentioned. This is from 2007, and it's called Woods 3, The Deepest Roots and Darkest Blues. Again, kind of melodic black metal with doom and folk influences in there. This one's even catchier than the last. It might be, maybe, there's a few on here that are pretty catchy, but this one's in contention for one of the catchiest black metal albums on this list. It's got, maybe it's not even black metal, it might just be doom, and this is just me miscategorizing it, but Wikipedia says melodic black metal, so I'm going by that. This has really catchy choruses, like Your Ontario Town is a Burial Ground. Yeah, that's one that I remember on there. Pretty catchy. And on to my number 7, which is a Finnish band called Havukrunu, and the album I can't even pronounce because it's in Finnish. Uinuos Suomen Sota from 2020, something like that. This is called Encyclopedia Metallum says pagan black metal. And I don't know what that means, but it's pretty cool. Like it's got riffs that are kind of reminiscent of like Iron Maiden and kind of traditional heavy metal stuff. So really kind of catchy melodic riffs, but still has the black metal vocals, but the vocals aren't as grating as a lot of other black metal vocalists. So I really enjoy this one. On to my number 6. And this is a band by a band called The Chemical Mind, and the album's called Beneath the Shadow It Casts. And I heard about this because I'm a fan of Xanthocroid, which you'll no doubt hear on this list as well. And this album features Sam Meador and Matthew Carl Earl from Xanthocroid. So that's kind of how I heard about it, probably through like a Xanthocroid Facebook group or something, and listened to it and I really enjoyed it. It's very kind of atmospheric and kind of, I don't know, I guess atmospheric's the best way to describe it. It's kind of proggy. I think there might be some like time signature changes and stuff on there. I enjoy that kind of stuff, so that's why it resonated with me. My number 4 is by a crazy band called Anal Nathrak from, where are they from actually? They're from the UK. And the album's called A New Kind of Horror from 2018. And this is pretty crazy. It's kind of a mix of black metal, grindcore, industrial metal, death metal, kind of all the extreme stuff shoved into one. It sounds like an assault hitting you in the face. And my next album on the list, my number 3, is by the same band, Anal Nathrak. It's their 2020 album called Endarkenment. Similar sound, but even catchier on this one. Like the choruses here, they have clean vocals here and not just shrieking screams. And these choruses are super catchy. I don't remember which song on here is my favorite. I think the title track Endarkenment's pretty good. Oh yeah, The Age of Starlight Ends, I think might be my favorite on here. It's like the verses are so brutal, but then the chorus is just catchy that you want to sing along to it with the clean singing. Yeah, really good album. My number 3 black metal album is by The Chemical Mind again, and this is their album That Benign Terror from 2020. And since I liked their album from 2019, Beneath the Shadow It Casts, I just decided I'd check out the album from 2020 and enjoyed that even more. It was kind of even more progressive, even more experimental, still had that great atmosphere, had more kind of time signature changes and odd like polyrhythm stuff going on in here. Just really cool listen for a prog fan. I do think prog fans would like this black metal album a lot. I think it's fairly underground and not super well known, but I recommend it. And now for my top 2, and they're both from the same band, Xanthocroid, which is actually the band that got me into black metal, because before them I didn't like any black metal. So I got into black metal, or started to tolerate it, in 2012 when they released their album Blessed He with Boils, which I have here, and autograph for me, which is great. I have it on vinyl. Really awesome album, very cinematic, has like orchestral stuff, has amazing acoustic guitar stuff played by Sam Meador, and Sam Meador's vocals here are great. I think his screams remind me of Isan a lot, and maybe that's just me because I like, those are kind of the 2 black metal shrieky vocalists that I like a lot. But he also sings really well too, so the clean singing on here is great, and I think a lot of the other members of the band sing on this too. It's just really interesting compositions with recurring themes. I think any prog fan who listens to this album could get into it. If they can look past, if they're not a big fan of black metal vocals, if they just kind of sit through it, bear with it, and kind of get hooked in by the music, I think you can appreciate the album. Then my number one, also by Xanthocroid, favorite black metal album of Earth and Axon. I'm going to say Act 2 is my favorite, but this vinyl here has Act 1 and 2 kind of in one. And yeah, Act 2, I'm in Act 2, so that's part of the reason why I like it as well. I'm in the fan choir on Through Caverns Old and Yawning. So I like that I was able to participate in my favorite black metal album ever. And it's just really good. It's kind of got a bit of a medieval vibe to it that you can sometimes hear in some black metal. It kind of sounds like it's made in the olden times. Then there's also female vocals on here from Ali Midor as well to add more kind of beauty to the music. So it's not all harsh, but there's a lot of really great drumming, a lot of fast kind of stuff that you would hear in black metal, but also kind of folky, medieval sounding stuff too. And that's it for a Prog fan's favorite black metal albums. I apologize to people who came to this video who actually know a lot about black metal and are hoping that I would pick the classics, because I don't tend to like the classics as much as some of these kind of weirder, underground, more progressive black metal albums. But hopefully somebody watching enjoys that kind of sound and explores these releases. Till next time, peace out.